Also, before I start, I dropped something on my toe and my foot hurts, so I might not walk around as much as usual, and if I do, I might limp a little bit. Just don't pay attention to that, sorry. Yeah. Okay, so, alright, so yeah. So the title of my speech is Changes, and I want to bring this up because everyone experiences changes in their life. I don't care who you are, I don't care how stationary you try to want to be in your life, there are going to be changes that you sometimes can control, that you sometimes can't control. And one of the statements that I've learned is very true, no matter how much I don't want it to be true, is that the only thing constant is change. And the point I want to get across with my speech is to accept change. Sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's good, but sometimes you gotta accept change. And when it's bad, you have to work through it and figure out the positives. And when it's good, well, you can just accept it without any consequence. And so I'd like to give a couple examples in my life of changes that I've had to go through that either A, made me better, or turned out positive, or just that I had to turn around and look in the best light that I could. So, and I've experienced a lot of changes in my life, but there are just three I wanted to bring up. So, number one is I've been to a couple different schools throughout, like elementary school through high school. I started out, if anyone's from the Columbia area, I started out at Heathwood Hall, which is a private school. So I started out in private school, and so I started out there, and then I went to Hammond, which is another private school in the area, just because my parents thought private schools in general, and then Hammond itself had a better education, so that's where I went. And I did not really like private school, I'm just going to say it. That was an interesting time in my life because, number one, in order to be popular or have a lot of friends in private school, there's a couple of things that kind of have to happen. In certain private schools, or at least the ones I went into, it's a very tight-knit community, you know? So if you don't grow up with the people, or if you're not like in the neighborhood or friends with a good amount of people that go there, it's kind of hard to integrate into, like, you know, everyone's social circles. Even in elementary school, yes, people have cliques and whatnot, but it's kind of hard to integrate into there if you didn't grow up with them, just because of how tight-knit the community is and how little people there are in private schools. And that, plus the fact that I was absolutely a super hyper kid, and everyone got annoyed. I'm still pretty hyper, but that it was pretty hard. I didn't have that many friends, so I didn't really like private school. But then in 6th grade, I went to public school for the first time, and that was a big change. I went to, for anyone, if anyone knows, Chapin High School, or middle school is when I started out in 6th grade. So I started going to Chapin, and I can honestly say that was a change for the better. That really turned some things around. I made a lot of friends because in public school, there's a lot more diversity. There's a lot more different types of people. So, you know, different people that fit my personality a little bit better, and just there's a lot of different groups and a lot more, like, I guess, acceptance in private or public school. And so that turned out to be great. I stayed there from middle school to high school. So in 10th grade, I went to a school called Colonel Newman, which is another private school, and I'll tell you why that happened in a second. But anyway, I ended up going back to Chapin and graduated from Chapin. And that was one of the best things in my life. I had wonderful teachers. They prepared me pretty well for college academics, and I made some of the best friends I ever made in my life, two of which are back there, Jason and Matt. They're my really good friends. And so that was one change that turned out for the positive, and that I'm really glad about. So number two, the next change I'm going to talk about did not start out well, I can honestly admit, but it turned out okay, and I think it grew me as a person. All right, so in about 9th grade, so my parents had never really gotten along. They had always been constant arguing, constant yelling at each other. They just could not see eye to eye, as far as I can remember. I mean, the last movie we saw together, my mom, my dad, and I, because I'm an only child, all together, was Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and I think I was 5, my 5th birthday. It was the last time we all went to a movie together. And so in 9th grade, they finally decided to get a divorce, that they had enough, they couldn't stand anymore. So, and it was not like some divorces, you know, people are pretty cordial and they just settle what they want and they don't want to make a big deal of it. No, this one was pretty bad. There was a lot of arguments over who should get what, how the money should be split, how the house should be sold, and it was a bad deal. And the biggest change, so that is like the encompassing change, but then the big change that came for that is I moved in with my dad, because we all lived in the same house, but before they got divorced, he had actually moved out, and like where he works, he owns a marble and granite business. Up above it is like a little loft area, so that's where he started living. And I know probably a lot of people think that's weird, but usually when someone's divorced, they move in with their mom or stay with their mom, and the reason is, it's not that, like, my mom and I, we don't get along. I'm just gonna say it. I'm always gonna love her. It's always gonna be a working relationship, but we can only be around each other so much. If anyone could feel how that is, maybe with a sibling or something. But yeah, so I moved in with my dad, and that was a big change because I never moved before. I mean, like when I was 2 or something, but I don't ever remember moving. I stayed in the same house. I grew up in the same house my whole life. And so that was a huge change. I had to move my stuff. I had to get acquainted to a new living area. Thankfully, I already knew the place because I knew where my dad worked. Like, he has his own business, so I knew the area well. So that was fun, interesting. And the change that turned out positive with that is my dad and I grew pretty close, and I lived in Columbia, and that's closer to the city. If you don't really know the area well, Chapin's kind of a suburb. It's a small town. The closest thing is near is Harbison, and then Columbia, which is kind of close to Harbison. So I was near things, which was really nice. And then, and then the last change I'd like to talk about is kind of where I wanted my life to go. So I always wanted to be an actor since I was a kid. Ever since I can remember, I always wanted to be an actor. I like to act. I was energetic. I thought acting was my thing because I could express myself. I'm hyper. I like to move around. I always wanted to be an actor. And so I auditioned for these summer programs through the South Carolina Governor's School for the Arts and Humanities. And so that was going to be the summer after my 8th grade year was one program. The summer after my 9th grade year was another program. And then you can audition to actually go there for high school from 11th to 12th grade. And so that was my plan. I was going to be an actor. I was going to be famous. Next Leonardo DiCaprio standing right here. That was going to be me. But so the good thing is I made it into the first program, the summer program, and I made it into the second summer program. And boy, just going there in general was a change because acting was not what I thought it was. I thought it was just a way to express yourself, and it is, but it's a lot more than that. You have to focus on like the way your body moves, how your body looks, how you express yourself, how you even like say words in a certain way to get across your character and how to really be in the character. So I mean, we were doing workouts like Pilates, we were reading plays, Arthur Miller, doing monologues. I mean, it was like a boot camp almost. It was not a camp, it was a program, like an acting program full out. And so that was fully what I wanted to do. And then it came out for me to try out for the high school part of it, the 11th through 12th grade, and I did not make it. And that like hit me pretty hard. Like, I wasn't completely destroyed, but I was like, what am I gonna do now? That was like my plan. And like, yeah, I guess I could have kept going with it, shouldn't let it stop me, but I kind of lost interest, I guess. But so, and I still did plays in high school and stuff like that, but that was like where I wanted to go, and that one little chink kind of messed me up. But I didn't let that like take me fully down, because my kind of plan was, if I didn't gonna do acting, is I was good at math, I like doing things with my hands, so I was thinking about engineering. And so what I ended up using that for is I started taking higher math classes in school, started doing more engineering type, and then I came here for a mechanical engineering degree. It helped. I got a scholarship, and I've been encouraged a lot for it, and I'm on a pretty good path right now. And as you know, a job like this is a lot more stable than an acting job, so that's a change that turned out for the good. And I just want everyone to know that in your life, accept change, because sometimes it's going to turn out better than you could have ever imagined. Thank you.